Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Hello, and welcome to the Better Your Business Show. Here, we discuss your most important business challenges and provide you with practical solutions to help you better your business.
And now that we are in our special edition and out of season, Tehran, normally we'll let you know that if you're a mompreneur, entrepreneur, papapreneur, whatever kind of preneur you are, you want to watch this show because we're going to give you the insights to help you build a sustainable business. And as most entrepreneurs, when we started our companies, the one thing we weren't handed was a roadmap to guide us through our business. Many times as entrepreneurs, we get lost along the way trying to get to that sustainability. So we need some sort of GPS to guide us along that way. So feel free to go to pillar5.com and do an assessment, pillarfive.com, spell it all out. Get an assessment, find out where you are in your business, attach that GPS to it so you can grow a sustainable business, Natalie.
Yes. So whether you are watching us live or joining the replay, go there, take the assessment, and then you can come into our virtual studio. We can address your comments and concerns throughout the show.
Absolutely. And today we're going to bite off into a subject that I think we all hold dear to us as the hosts of the show. And we have this love for the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series written by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, co-author, who we happen to have on our show, first season, first episode. So if you haven't seen that episode, go watch it. It's on the Roku at LATV. Los Angeles Tribune TV.com on Roku. You can also catch us at the I Do Systems on Facebook and on YouTube. We're always glad to be here to bring you insight. Natalie, what is the topic though?
Today, we're really going to be going over the mindset of an entrepreneur. We're going to be addressing the Cashflow Quadrant, right? The 4 quadrants. What are the 4 quadrants and how do we make it through each aspect of the quadrant? What is the shift in our mindset that needs to happen for us to get there, basically?
Awesome. And if you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad or the Cashflow Quadrant series by Robert Kiyosaki, co-authored by Sharon Lechter, please go get those books and read them. If you're an entrepreneur, you're just getting started. If you've been in business for less than 10 years and you still find you're running into road bumps, the bumps in the road, you're still having some issues. There's things that need to be done to get your business to the next level, but you're just not sure what that thing is. I think those books will really give you an insight on how to overcome those obstacles and really get a bird's eye view of yourself as an entrepreneur on the ground. And so since that's the topic for today, Natalie, let's talk about your experience. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for me, was one of my favorite books of all times. In fact, I bought the entire series of that book. I even bought, there's some for children, for youngsters, and I bought those for my son and his friends so that they could begin studying. And I try to spend time with them, teaching them entrepreneurship through that way. So again, if you're a parent or you have little ones around you, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is for them as well. And it really helps them understand the mindset of being an entrepreneur. And so, Natalie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that Robert Kiyosaki book, because it's been my favorite book.
And absolutely. So, if I was just thinking about, we were talking about that, what were her 3 books that I could not live without in my life? And I think the first one would be Think and Grow Rich. Second one would be Cashflow Quadrant. And then Sharon's new book, Exit Rich. I think those, as an entrepreneur, those are 3 must reads, right? If I was going to pick first things right now, you have to drop everything and read, those would be the 3, because really they're life changers. They change your business. They show you what your mindset has to be. And then obviously with Sharon's book, Exit Rich, too, it gives you your exit plan, which is the whole point of this show, is teaching people how to, exit rich. So they're life changers. And I love too, even when we had Sharon on the show last time and she was talking about the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, they talk so much about the hows and the mindset, which we desperately need, being that we've been so conditioned to be entrepreneurs and to be 9 to 5. But I lost my train of thought. But showing us how to go from that to being self-employed and how to owning a business and then being an investor. And even when we had the show thinking about the investor mindset, which is where I want to be, the quadrant I want to end up on, I don't even know that I saw the investor quadrant correctly until I read Exit Rich. It's completely shifted that quadrant for me.
Interesting. And for you all who haven't grabbed your cup of coffee yet, I can hear my co-host kind of going in and out right now. She just needs her cup of coffee. So if you don't have your cup of coffee with you,
I do.
Get juiced up. We're going to be here for another 55 minutes going down this rabbit hole. And of course, we have Natalie Essman, who's co-host, your money expert, and I'm Carlton Hoskins. And Tayron Glover will be joining us shortly. He's just getting it together to get ready to give it to you. The thing that I learned, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but the thing that I learned most, or the first thing that jumped out to me in the Rich Dad Poor Dad when I read that book, not even before we get to the Cashflow Quadrant book, the first thing I realized when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad was when he was explaining his father, who was a professor at the time, or the character in the book, right? Presumably it's Robert Kiyosaki, but the father in that story was a professor for a university. He preached, go get good education, go get a great job, retire from a company, have your pension, live life like that. And then his rich dad, which was his friend's dad, was the entrepreneur. When he would go into his rich dad's house, he would be surrounded by a group of people. It would be an attorney, an accountant, a marketing agent, and all these experts was around him. And the poor dad, if you will, or the rich dad, depending on how you view the book at the end. At the beginning, you think the poor dad is the entrepreneur, but you come to realize that is the rich dad. But in that scenario, he had experts around him. And for me, I think that's what really leads into the quadrants when we start looking at being self-employed, being that solopreneur, right? We're doing it all alone and we don't have all those experts around him. What made that dad rich was that he had all of these experts around him, and if we don't find ourselves in that position where we have people smarter than us around us and experts around us, then we find ourselves in the mindset of a solopreneur, meaning I'm going to do the work. I basically have my own job. I like to refer that to like my local landscaper. The guy who cuts my yard today, he cuts it by himself. Sometimes he might have another person with him. But if he doesn't feel well, that's it. He's done. He's got to go home. He's got to rest. He's got to take care of himself. So the business completely stops the moment that happens. And I've tried to encourage him to build a team around him. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I like my business the way it is. And that's okay. Some people will have that mindset. I'm okay with what I have and I'm perfectly fine with it. And their goal isn't to reach a higher level financially. What they have is enough, satisfied, if you will. And to me, the world's just too big to be satisfied with, working for myself. So for me, that mindset never stuck. What about for you?
I would have to say, I think that's something that's probably the hardest shift for me, to be honest with you. It would be that. And I think it is, well, obviously it is for everybody, right? If you've read the Cashflow Quadrant, that's the hardest one, is to go from self-employed to business owner, right? Because you have to be able to slow down. You have to be able to duplicate yourself. You have to be able to invest time and money into other people to do that. And usually when we're going from the self-employed mindset, it's self for a reason. We know how to do it. We know how to be efficient. We know how to get it done. We can do it faster, right? And so we tend to just take on that responsibility and do it instead of duplicating ourselves. And again, that just goes back to, what do we want? Do we want to be duplicated, or do we want to just have our own business? And then the other thing that I always look at too in the duplication process is money, right? So in my years of training, almost 2 decades now, agents, if they wanted to become an entrepreneur, the first thing that I did was tell them, you have to duplicate your income 90 days, 90 days, consistent 90 days, duplicate your income. Once you do that, then you can go from being, an employee and self-employed, and we can work on the business owner aspect. But until you know how to duplicate your income, there's really no point in that.
Right. That is a big deal. I agree with that. I so agree with that. I almost said I didn't agree with that, but as you went into the example, it made the most sense. And I've heard for a very long time in my life, you either have more time than money or more money than time. Which one do you have more of? And I remember as I was going through, becoming an entrepreneur and a business owner, the first thing that I had was more time, right? Because I walked away from employers. I didn't want a job. I was going to work for myself. Hence the mindset. I'm even saying it out loud. I wanted to work for myself. So that's what I did. I worked for myself. But that's not an entrepreneur mindset. Mm-hmm. That's a self-employed mindset. It's not the business owner mindset. That's self-employed. That's what it is. It's self-employed. And so as I was moving through that time, there came a point where it was, well, you only have so much time. You still have to do things in your own life, plus in your business. How are you going to do all of that and grow your business to where you want it to grow? Now, my goals for growing the business wasn't $1 million. My goal had several more zeros on the end of it. So I'm always working toward that goal. And when I reached a certain number and I realized I can't do this, like there's no way that I could do this and still do just simple things like do my own laundry, run to the post office, stop and cook dinner. Like it was easier to run out and order food. Like now you got DoorDash. So, you just pick up an app and you're done. But then back then when cell phones were as big as this sheet of paper, that's so long ago that it was difficult. It was difficult for me to swallow and say, okay, I'm going to pay someone else to do that, because now I had to, and the truth was I was confused because I didn't know how to put the value on it. I was like, well, what is my time worth? And okay, so now what is their time worth? And so that was like, well, wait a minute, if I'm going to pay them what I would pay me, then why pay them? Just keep the money and do it myself. And that's where I've really ran into roadblocks in growing my business. And it took me a long time. In fact, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the book that got me over that hump. Once I saw that in the book, that's why it jumped out to me so fast, because I was in that state of business. Once I hit that roadblock, it was like, oh, no, I have to get these experts. They know their value. And now I just need to figure that out and plug that into my business. And so then it became easy to start adding people into my business, and it allowed me to step back. That was the second scary part, because now I didn't feel as busy. I felt like I was wasting time, like I wasn't doing anything. And it was because I wasn't doing all the busy work. I wasn't caught up in the whirlwind. I was just high level, plugging pieces in and then letting the experts work. And then I would be sitting back with my arms crossed going, what am I going to do today? I don't know what to do today. I should be doing something today. What should I be doing? And Mark Cuban answered that very quickly. He said, sales cures all. So if you don't know what to do, go sell. Go sell what you have, right? Go bring on more people. What about your experiences? Did you ever go through an experience from that transition of yourself, of going from self-employed to business owner, and in any of your previous businesses?
Well, yeah, since I've been in financial planning, which has been, about 18 years now. And I came from predominantly I was in the restaurant industry prior to that and going to college. So what I didn't realize is a lot of times when we come from a restaurant background or a background like bartending or where you're getting tips, what I didn't realize is you already have a self-employed mindset. Right? Because really we're there to hustle. The difference is that our clients are walking in the door, whereas entrepreneurs, we kind of have to drum it up, right? But we're still there hustling for tips. What's our check at the end of the week? $100. It's the tips that have done it and the good customer service. So that was a big challenge for me, especially because I was very efficient in that area because I've been doing it so long. that when I went into entrepreneurship, when it came to me duplicating myself, my mindset, I'd get impatient and be like, I could just do it real fast, as opposed to taking the time to train that person. But what I learned is the greatest number one investment we'll ever make is into ourselves. And number two is into people, right? So is it worth it to take the time to invest into people? Are we always going to get it right? Life happens. People don't stick. People move, pass away, change careers, all sorts of things happen. But the greatest investment we'll make in other people. And so then deciding, is this person worth investing in? Are they worth my time?
Right, right. So how did you mitigate that? How did you eventually transfer all of your work to someone else? And how did that feel when you did that?
So I had an awesome coach, first off. A lot of what I'm sharing, I've learned from him, which was how to be duplicatable, and making everything, putting systems and processes in place, which is pillar 5, right? The whole point of it is to teach people that. Because one of the things that the Rich Dad Poor Dad series did was they did a great job of teaching mindset, right? That was the beginning of this. Everything we're doing in entrepreneurship, we've taught mindset. Now the shift has been, we've gone from mindset to the how-tos, right? Which is one of the reasons why Sharon wrote Exit Rich. So first off is we can't transfer something that we don't know how to do. So a lot of times in entrepreneurship too, as you're working with other people, you'll hear call so-and-so, go figure it out, blah, blah, blah. We have to understand how to do it ourselves first. So that would be number one, is master your craft, be great at it so you can transfer those skills. And then the other thing is putting the standards and expectations up front on both ends. Right? What am I looking for? What are the standards and expectations? And that way there's accountability on both sides too. If someone doesn't follow through, there's a healthy conversation of, hey, I just dropped the ball. I made a mistake. I didn't, whatever the conversation has to be. That's one of the ways that you'll know. And by that, healthy communication.
Yeah. And as you're talking, sometimes I can't hear myself when I'm speaking, if you will. So I'm not listening to myself speak. But now that I've heard you speak, it really drums up the reality that as entrepreneurs, as business owners, one of the two of the things that we must commit to is leadership development. It sounds like leadership and time management, because you went into the processes and being able to process and being able to delegate. And I wish Tayron was here so I could use this analogy, but I'll say it anyway. And I don't like to speak when someone's not here, but he always says, this is our crayon. This is our whiteboard. So we'll put together these ideas and then we give it off to the experts. I think that's one of the most valuable things that he and I have done in the development of I Do Systems and creating Pillar 5 is that we knew we weren't the experts. We knew there were parts of this that we had absolutely no clue. And as you were speaking, you were saying, understand all of these pieces, and then you can pass them on. Well, that's exactly what we did. We started understanding the pieces. Now, we never went in and learned programming. That's something that we just never did as a team. But we did know that we were smart enough to know that we couldn't program, and we needed a programmer. And so we passed it off to the programmer. Now, listen, many people would say, oh my gosh, you guys are overnight success, or they may not say it yet, but maybe by the end of the year, they'll say that. But no, it's taken us 5 years plus to get there. And the reason it's taken us that long is not only because we wanted it perfect and we're perfectionists, but we didn't always have the right experts at the right time. We had a lot of experts on our team. Some of our experts are still with us, and some of the experts, like you said, went on to different careers, had their other arrangements, other situations that they have. We still love them, we still like them, we still follow them, we still comment on their post, and if we talk to them, it's still love. It's all great, right? There's no animosity because they walked away or whatever the situation was. But the reality was, we knew there was some things missing, and just lately, we started filling in some of those holes because we better understood it. And I think part of that slow pace was, again, us trying to understand before we plugged in an expert. And so now Tayron kind of has this thing of bring the expert will explain it to us, then we can make the decisions. And it's like, oh, Well, that's a whole lot easier than me trying to learn C sharp, and then go talk to someone about how to do C sharp. It's like, wait a minute, that's not right. So I agree 100% what you said. I just want to make sure our audience doesn't take that for, oh, I have to go master all these, different components. No, Natalie's very clear. You have to understand the process. It's the process she's speaking about. Putting that process in place, whether it's like us, right? If I want to contact my coders or my programmers to say I want something changed, there's a process to do that. You don't just send them an email and say, fix this, because then there's no accountability for it. So you want to create the process so you can get someone else to come in and go, okay, this is how I communicate. This is what the deadlines are. This is how they respond. Okay, take over that role. I'm going to go over here and do something else. And so when you speak of processes, oh, wow, that is so, so, so important. And we're never perfect. We're never perfect at it, right? But the process will get improved over time the more we do it. And when you bring an expert in, they're going to refine it because they're even more efficient in that area because that's their expertise. They know the best way to do that process.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you for helping clarify that, because that's so true. That it is about the processes, because like for me being in finance, is there someone who does my website and stuff? Yes, absolutely. But I don't want to know coding, but I need to know enough of the processes to make sure things are running efficiently, to be able to inspect what I expect too, right? As I'm going back and checking things. And then hopefully you're just going back and checking things once in a while, tightening the bolts, doing the oil change, right? And your machine's running efficiently. And that's having a business. You're having money coming in, a business running efficiently, even whether you're working or not. Self-employed, we have to be there. Having a business is, I'm on vacation, I still make money.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And good morning, Natalie. I know you're
Hi,
out
Natalie.
in Germany. I hope you had a safe flight. I'm glad to see you here this morning. Please drop your comments and your suggestions by all means into the box. Yeah, absolutely. So the processes has been the key. So let's talk about the unless you want to grab some coffee, we can do a quick commercial. You can grab you some coffee and we can
do I need it that bad, Carson?
No, you don't need it that bad. You don't need it that bad.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We could go into break now if you like. That'd be good. I can switch my lighting too.
Okay, let's do it. All right.
Right.
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're on a special edition of the Better Your Business Show, and we're talking about the Cashflow Quadrant, how to go from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. Take a moment. Go grab your cup of coffee. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes exact.
A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it right.
I use Colette Portis's goalie system, but don't take my word for it. Hear it from others who know it works.
So the goalie system and Colette helped me develop a plan for my business, a very systematic approach to growing my business, and it helped me find clarity as to who I serve and what it is exactly that I do.
Goalie provided me clarity on my business and helped me put together a structure to actually implement a plan that would make our business successful.
I experienced Colette through the MBA for CEOs, and one of the tools they used was her goalie book and subsequent workbook. And I will have to say that that system that she created is, quite frankly, ingenious.
Are you ready to grow your team, increase your revenue, and build your legacy? Let Goalie guide you to success. Order your Goalie bundle today at Amazon.com or ColettePortis.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for going to grab your cup of coffee. I didn't grab my cup of coffee, but it is okay. We are here and ready to ride. So if you have comments, if you have questions, please drop them. And I'm always going to remind you, please go to pillar5.com. If you're an entrepreneur, you feel like you're stuck on the road and you want to get over the building blocks. Listen, I know what we do as business owners. I'm a business owner. Natalie's a business owner. We've been through this. We tend to go off what we know, but we only know what we know. And many times we just start grabbing at things that seems or feels like they make the most sense to do at that very moment in your business, but it may not be the right thing to do at your business. It can cost you terribly. It can cost you. So rather than guess at what to do, go to pillar5.com, take an assessment, find out the life cycle stage your business is in, and then you'll know the exact next step you need to take to get your business to the next level. All right, that's pillar5.com. Let's get back into our conversation. We're talking about the Cashflow Quadrant, written by Robert Kiyosaki. I believe that was co-authored by Sharon Lechter. I know she co-authored Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki, but I'm not sure if she did the Cashflow Quadrant piece. But I know she always talks about the transition, the transformation from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. And that is being self-employed or employee to business owner investor mindset. That's a huge jump. That's going from, working in the C-suite position to simply making investments that generate revenue that you don't have to work on. The money works for you rather than you work for the money. Same thing with your business. You want to work your business, not work for your business, not in your business. You want to work on your business. So let's talk about this, Natalie. So in this quadrant, what is the mindsets? We talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we opened up about our personal experiences with. So with the Cashflow Quadrant, maybe I should bring up a drawing that shows the quadrant as we get into this piece. Let me do that really quick. And while I do that, can you tell me your experience with going through the quadrant so far?
Sure. So, obviously most of us have the 95% of the population, right? The first quadrant is the employee quadrant, which is the E quadrant, which most of us are or have been, right? And it's also part of our conditioning. We're very conditioned to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Look at our school system, look at our parents' schedule. Just look at the trajectory of the world, right? We're very conditioned to have that employee mindset. The second quadrant is the self-employed mindset. So how do we go from employee mindset to self-employed mindset is when I talked about the duplication of your income, right? That's how we go to self-employed. And, the reason why it's 90 days, I like to use the analogy of, let's just say we're going to bake a cake, right? And Carlton, we're going to say you're going to bake the cake. And so you call me and you're like, Natalie, I'm going to bake this cake. Can you give me the recipe to bake this cake? And I give you the recipe. You follow the recipe, you bake the cake. It turns out good. You're looking at, the recipe that I sent you, and you're following the instructions. Second time you make it, you might have to glance at it a couple times, right? And you're, I remember, and you go through the process. But the third time you're like, I got this recipe, cake, flour, butter, oil, whatever, right? You're going through the process. Well, it's the same thing as you get into the self-employed quadrant, because once you know how to duplicate your income, you do it 3 months in a row. It's like, I got this, clockwork. I know right recipe. I know my flow. I know how to duplicate my income, right? You have that confidence. And it's 3 months in a row. If you miss it 1 month, it starts over, because you want to build that confidence muscle of, hey, I got this. Hey, I can do this, right? That's what I know. Doesn't matter where I go or what I do. I can duplicate my income because I've been doing it for almost 2 decades now. I have confidence in that. For me, it doesn't matter. You want to start off with that confidence. Once you have that confidence, because why? Once you have that confidence, you can look at anybody and say, hey, I can teach you how to duplicate your income. Right? And that can take you right into the business owner quadrant.
Oh, I love that. That's very well said.
I paid a lot of money for that.
That is so true, though. The way you've explained that, even today, Natalie, it's funny you say that, because even today now, when I pick up a client, I'm instantly, I'm remembering the conversation that I had with my client when I picked them up to coach them on whatever I'm coaching them on, whether it's real estate or it's their business or it's whatever. If I'm coaching or consulting them, the first thing I think about is my network. And I think about the people in my network that can serve that person. You know, kind of goes back to Patty Farmer's, who can you serve? How can you serve? Right. And so I think about my network and I think of, okay, well, if I need someone to help my client, because they're going to be talking about insurance of any sort in the near future, I immediately go, okay, I got to make sure I connect them with Natalie. You know, I have to connect them with the right people. Even as I'm walking through the process, and they'll say, Carl, can you write this? And I go, yeah, but I'm not the best writer. I don't even write for my own company. So let me get the people who write for me to write, and then I'll pay them. And so it's okay. It's almost like I'm subletting out the work. I'm subcontracting out the work, if you will. It's not because I can't do it, is it takes too much time. And it's easier to just do it that way and pick up more clients. Now, previously, again, I'm dating myself here. If we're in the early 90s, this isn't happening the way that it is today. Today, technology has really ran rampant. And now you can get on Fiverr, you can meet people at the drop of a dime on Google. And just think in 1990, there was no Google. Google did not exist. So for all of you millennials who are going, what? Yeah, there was no Google, there was no Yahoo, there was no Amazon. That wasn't there in the early stages of 1990. So if you were looking for people to connect with, you had to get up, get in your car and go out. You had to go to local networking events. You know, it's changed a lot. So now you can almost meet people. I mean, listen, if you just go to your spam box, there's enough people in there trying to sell you something, you know, that you can network with. If you really just wanted to be creative and go, well, I don't want to talk to anyone. Well, just catch all the people who are trying to sell you something and take what they're trying to sell and pass it on. You know, it's just so crazy how busy it is. But what still blows my mind, Natalie, and I don't want to get into this dialogue here, but still, with even all of this since 1990 to 2021 here today, businesses are still failing at the rate of 76%. That's crazy to me. It's like, why? Why are we failing? And it's because we don't have a roadmap. But what we're talking about today is going to definitely take us over there. So I'm going to bring this up, Natalie. Let's bring this onto the screen. How do we do that without making it look like we're in the background hiding away? I have your face there. Okay, cool. At least we can see you. That's a good enough start for me. And if you didn't know,
Can you put that in the box you're in right now and then put us both on the side? Does that work?
No, it won't let me do that. Let me see if I could. Oh, let me change that up. Let's see how we could do this. Let me see if I could just share a screen. Boom, that works.
Perfect.
That works. All right. Whoa. There's double. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about this. These are the quadrants. And I hope everyone can see those. So this is the left side of the quadrant, the E's and the S's. And on the right side of the quadrant are the B's and the I's. All right, so we have the employees, and again, time, money. Then we have the self-employed, same formula, time equals money. A good analogy of this, and my mom back in the early 2000s, she started a commercial janitorial company in Florida. And she was working in the business. Let me say what she was doing. She was working in the business, and we had other family members working in the business, and everyone kind of, I'm going to say, ate the revenue that came into the company. So there was no room for expansion. You know, if they picked up more contracts, that just simply meant they had to do more work. So I'm saying that because this is a good sequence of or analogy of how this worked, or an example, because they put in a lot of time to get the money. So that's all they did. They put in time and they got money back. But they really never had the ability to get someone else to do it so that they can make money, even if it was a smaller percentage, where quantity became more important. than them making a higher amount of money per se. Because I remember my mom had that same issue I had, and that was, I don't want to let go of the money I'm making to give it to someone else in order to make less. But in that formula, then you have to start thinking, well, okay, well, if I'm not working, that means I can go get more contracts, more jobs. I can hire more people. I can make more revenue, right? That makes sense. But if you don't get the rest of that formula, it's just, well, I'm losing money because I'm paying it away to someone else. So I don't have the money, you know? And then, of course, we have the business owners. Income does not depend on active work. They just make money from their employees. And then we have the investors who makes money from money. That's very clear. Makes money from money. So Natalie, yes, please share your insights and your knowledge going from the left side to the right side. How do we do that? How do we successfully go from left to right?
Sure. So, well, first thing to keep in mind is we have to go through each quadrant, right? It's just part of the recipe. So we can't go from employee to investor. I mean, I guess we could, but you probably won't sustain, right? But if you want to have sustainability, you need to go through each quadrant. So going from employee to self-employed, that goes back to duplicating your income, right? That has to be done first, is the duplication of the income. And the reality is yeah, those times might seem a little bit constricted. Maybe you're not able to do the laundry. Maybe, things are piling up a little bit on the back end, but part of that is how quickly are you willing to get through that transition, right? So having a plan to do that, working with someone who's taught people how to do that to make your transition smoother, making that investment in yourself, right? You're making an investment in yourself. You're not paying somebody. See it as an investment in yourself to help switch you from employee to self-employed, right? Because this is where all the juice starts to happen. You're self-employed, you're independent, you know how to make that money, right? You're blowing, going and doing your business. Now you decide you want to duplicate yourself, and it's not a big deal because I've been doing it. I know how to do this. I know how to make money, right? I know how to duplicate that income so I can duplicate myself. Then we're able to transfer those skills to another person, and that's what's going to take us to business owner. And I think a lot of times when we think about why are so many businesses going out of business, this is a huge part of it, is because there's no one to take the business, right? There's no one to take over the business or to keep running the business or to inherit the business or to sell the business, right? There's no strategy out of in that area. So going to business owner, we've duplicated ourselves. We can step away. Our business, our system is still running, whether we're there or not. We're generating income. We have the freedom of our time. And then going from business owner to investor, investing in other things, having that exit strategy for our business, right? Having the mindset of, hey, I started this business to sell this business, right? Because I'm going to retire this business or it's going to go to my child. What is your plan there? You need to know that from the beginning. What is the plan? And then that taking you into the investor quadrant where we're really able to create wealth.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a mindset attached, and I think that's what we were talking about previously, where time equals money. So a good example of that is a hairstylist, someone who does landscaping, a bookkeeper, an accountant. These are really good. An insurance agent, a business consultant, a business coach. These are all good examples of self-employed.
Yeah.
Really good.
Or any commission or tipped based business. When I look at bartenders, waitresses, it's commission based, quote unquote, right? It's called tips, but it's commission based. A lot of times their mindset is self-employed. They don't even know it because they're showing up to work, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important to mention. The mindset is still different.
Absolutely. And point to that is, the IRS, when they work with Congress to do these PPP loans, one of the things they added in January, with Biden coming in the office was that, we need to include gig workers. We need to include the people who drive DoorDash and Uber. And like you said, bartenders and all of these individuals, because they are, quote unquote, self-employed. They're working for themselves, right? Yeah. And that's big. And that is really clear. That is time. Their time equals money. That's it. If they lose time, they lose money. They're one and the same on the side. They're just converting one to the other. That's it, right? They're converting one to the other. So that mindset of time equals money, how do we go from time equals money to human resources or employees or subcontractors or other people's time. Let's call it that. OPM is other people's money. We're going to call OPT. We're going to opt in for employees, OPT. So if other people's time equals money, how do we change that mindset from our time to someone else's time? And what are the skills necessary to understand going from this side of the quadrant over to the B? Because you're not going to go from S to I. You got to go from S to B, if I'm understanding you right. You go E.
Yeah.
We all worked at some point in our life, even if we had the entrepreneurial bug as little kids. You know, I used to have carnivals in my backyard with my brothers and sisters. You know, we would raise money by just replicating what we saw at a carnival with balloons and go-karts and prizes and games. Oh my. But that was our way of raising money. That was the way that we would make money, right? So that's the entrepreneurial mindset. But we were employees at one time. My first job was McDonald's. Little known fact, I was 13 years old. My uncle got me fired because I wasn't supposed to be working. Then we become self-employed. Self-employed, my personal self-employed, was when I was a clothes designer. I was designing clothing. I worked my own time, and whatever I made, that was my money. Now we're in the business owner position. What's the mindset? What's needed to get from here to there? What is the thing that an entrepreneur or a business owner needs? Or I'm going to use the term a self-employed person. What do they need to know in order to get to the B?
How to duplicate themselves.
How to duplicate. Okay. Does that require does that duplication include that leadership skill, being able to understand time management? Is all of that relevant as part of what you're saying?
Well, hopefully at that point in your career, you've done that. Because again, we can't teach something we don't know how to do. So we can't transfer that skill if we don't know how to do it. So we have to be good at being self-employed before we can duplicate that skill to become a business owner. So part of that depends on how long are we going to take to get good at that. Do we want to take 3, 4, 5 years to get good at that? Do we want to take the 90 days to get good at that? How long is it going to take us to build those habits, behaviors, and then take the time to put those skills into other people?
Right. You know, I thought leadership development for me was one of the key ingredients, and I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you there. How long do we want to spend being self-employed before we get to the business owner? How long do we want to take in learning the processes, right? Is basically what you're saying. I think there's another additive.
And how good a job have we done of implementing processes and having the systems, written out in place too, where someone could just think about if we're self-employed, something happens where, we can't go to work tomorrow. Can my assistant go in there or somebody go in to fill in the space for me and just have some type of manual they can go to and it's paid by number of okay, right? Because if you go into a McDonald's, think about this, if you go into a McDonald's, I haven't been into a McDonald's in probably 10 years, right? Most of us haven't. If we're hitting the drive-through anyway, so I'm not going to say I haven't eaten at McDonald's, I have. But I bet you now we can go to any McDonald's, fries are on the left by the window, right? Shake machine in the center. If you look at the cash registers, there's literally pictures. It doesn't even say small, medium, or large. It's a small Coke, a medium Coke, a large Coke. It's literally paid by number. The system, the thing with McDonald's is they've made this efficient system that's so easy. We have teenagers that we can't get to make their bed going in and running them. By the way, how many hamburgers has McDonald's sold? Billions of horrible hamburgers, right? Billions by teenagers. Horrible hamburgers by teenagers, billions. They're doing something right? And it's systems. That's what they're doing, systems. I can throw 5 teenagers in here and they can run this system for me. That's how simple, that's how duplicatable it is.
Well, it sounds like the benchmark, Natalie, as you're saying it sounds like that's the benchmark that we as entrepreneurs need to have as we consider or as we move through our businesses is, does our processes and does our systems match up with McDonald's? Like, listen, we don't need to have a multi-billion-dollar organization to have process and systems in place, right? That's not a requirement. Having the systems and the processes in place are a requirement. You did the thing that we do all the time. Pick up your books. Where's your notebooks? Where's your manuals to say, This is how you submit this document for this process. If this happens, we all go through training when we walk into a new company as an employee. When we come in as an employee, we go through this training and they teach us how to do the job, regardless of your experience, regardless of where you've been and what you know. They're going to show you their way, their processes. And Natalie, it sounds like that's what you're talking about. They got to have those processes in place before they can move from that self-employed position over to the B, because that process is going to allow them to bring on more human resources, more employees who can actually do the work. Then they have to learn how to lead, right? And hire managers to lead. And then it gets deeper down that rabbit hole. So at what point are they called an entrepreneur? Does it matter if they're self-employed or if they're the business owner, if they're the investor? Are they all entrepreneurs? Because that's been they got this, I'm a solopreneur, and then I'm an entrepreneur. Well, if I'm looking at the cash flow quadrant, it sounds like the solopreneur is self-employed, and the business owner is the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur and investors are clearly two different people, right? So does the B really I don't want to say the E because there's an E already, and maybe that's why Robert Kiyosaki put business owner instead of entrepreneur to not confuse anyone. So do you agree? Is the entrepreneur the one whose income does not depend on active work? Is that the entrepreneur?
That does not depend on active work. So when you say active work, meaning going in there and running the business?
Yeah, working in the business. The time equals money.
Well, I would see that person as the investor. I'm investing in my business, in my businesses. I own businesses that I'm investing in.
Then that's definitely an investor, but then you wouldn't walk in at all. Right? Because if we're looking at the way they got it, says employees, the amount of active work determines income. Same thing with the S. On the business owner and on the B and I side, it's B and I. Listen to that, B and I. Hey, B and I out in South Cal. Hey, Charity. The business owner income does not depend on active work. Right? So we're basically creating new verticals,
outlets.
New channels, things like that. So in this case, so the entrepreneur is the one who has employees working, and the revenue that they're generating is where the business owner is making his money. He doesn't have to he or she does not have to necessarily walk into the office per se to run that company. They can go on vacation for 90 days and be okay.
Well, and hopefully we're not having to be there. That's the whole point of being the business owner, right? Is having the right people in place.
Right. Just really quick, I went on vacation about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I can't remember now. It seems like it's been so far along now. But I went on vacation for 10 days and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified that things would stop moving. I know I have the right people, but it was that fear. It's just that, that fear that most people say, oh, that's my baby. That's my business. I don't want to let go of it. I don't want anything to happen to it. I don't want it to hurt. Right. And it was so comforting not picking up my phone, not doing anything with business other than doing the show, which was fun. That's always fun. And I came back to even more progress.
Yes.
That was amazing for me. It was like, wow, I need to go way more often. I need to stay out of it, And what we don't realize sometimes is as the business owner, we tend to get in our own way.
Yes.
Because we think we have all of the right answers. We don't have to make every decision. It's okay. There's other people in the room who are smarter than you. That's why they're there. Allow them to make the decisions. And so it's been this particular company has been new for me, even though it's been around for 5 years. This particular company, that was my first vacation in over 5 years. So this is my first time literally shutting down and not looking at anything.
Nice.
Terrified, completely terrified the whole time. Every morning I wake up and drink a cup of coffee and I want to check my messages and my email. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to the beach. And I came home and now I feel relieved. Like I don't have to have that tension anymore. And I think sometimes a business owner gets into that position where they've built out the right team around them and they put in the right processes and they've done everything right, but they're still fearful of stepping back, right? So I encourage
Control.
you.
Let it go.
Yeah,
Control.
control. Absolutely. Control. Right. Like Janet Jackson said, control.
Yeah.
So here at this point, if you feel like you've got into that B realm on that side of the quadrant and you have a good team and you're confident your team is good, take a break. Take 5 days. Just don't answer your phone. Don't do any. I mean, of course, if it's, an emergency, by all means, but take a break, walk away, and allow that feeling of insecurity to subside. It won't until you come back. But once you come back and you see that progress is still being made and things are still running efficiently, you'll feel more confident about your team, and you'll really blow up your business now, because now you're going to be like, they got it. They really, really, really get it. Because I think as business owners, that's one of the biggest fears we have, Natalie. They don't get it. We think in our head, no one else gets it. No one else sees it like I see it. And we're wrong. Sometimes people see it way clearer than we see it. We just don't believe they can because they didn't come up with it.
Right.
But that's not the point, right? It's amazing that feeling is huge. It's
right.
huge.
It is. It really is, because it starts to give you that trust and freedom. And the other thing too is when we're in that space of being too controlling, micromanaging, concerned, not really putting our 100% faith and trust, what happens is that we stunt growth. And so when we're able to take those moments to step back and let the people that we're working with have freedom, it causes them to grow, right? And that's what we want. We want our business to grow. We want the people inside of it to grow. And the other thing I think that we need to remember as a business owner is that nobody's perfect. Balls are going to be dropped. Mistakes are going to be made. And so one of the things that I always looked at, because that we're people, no one's perfect, right, is what are the intentions behind it, right? What is the character and integrity behind it? Because if the character and integrity is there and it was just a human mistake and error, it's something that can always be worked through, right? Okay, where do we need to shift? What could we have done better? How can we fix it? How could I have what could I have done better for you as a manager, leader, mentor, whatever? We can fix those things. But if we don't take the time to step away, some of those things may not even come up for us to be able to grow and shift and change and get better. So, and exactly, it gave you that freedom of saying, hey, I can trust them. We're on the same page. They get it. And sometimes the other thing too is when we're micromanaging and not trusting, I think it subconsciously sends a message that we don't trust them. We can't walk away. We don't trust that they get it. Sometimes I think to myself, I am completely insulting that person's intelligence right now by thinking to myself, if I step away, or am I explaining it to where they can understand it? Like, don't insult their intelligence, right? Did you get it when it was explained to you? They'll get it, right? And if there needs to be little shifts, okay, but that's how you find out.
Right. You're so right. You can't insult their intelligence. And this has been that reality for me. And it's funny because every business I've done, I've gone through the same emotion. It's that same emotion. It's the first time you jump out of a plane in a long time, you still get that same fear. And I'm there again. And now I feel like, oh my gosh, I've been insulting people this whole time. Now I feel that internally, like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I know they get it. How do I know? Because this business has been working just fine. And so it's like, okay, don't do that anymore. But sometimes you have to go through that to realize, like you say, Natalie, you're insulting someone's intelligence. They do get it. They do absolutely get it. You're just not sure that they get it. Then put yourself in a position to make yourself sure. And the best way to do that is take a step back. And Jamie Soto, you're so right. Thanks for joining us. You're absolutely right. That feeling is amazing. But before it becomes amazing, it's terrifying. It's that roller coaster ride when you get on the roller coaster and you're screaming out of your mind because this exhilaration, you're, oh my gosh, your nerves are on high end. But when you get off, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to do that again. I want to do that again, But the moment you get on there, you're like, it's that whole feeling. And there is emotion in business. There's no doubt, because we're human Humans own businesses, so there's going to be emotions. It's knowing how to manage that. And that's where that leadership comes in. That's what Natalie's talking about, being able to make sure that you trust the people around you and they know you do. They have to know you do, because if they don't know you too, they're not going to take the liberty to take action without you, because they're going to feel like you're going to reprimand them or judge them.
That's right.
Or
That's
give
right.
them freedom to run their expertise in your business. So let's talk about the I before we have to run off. Now we got about 4 more minutes. This has been an interesting conversation.
Using your money to make money.
Woo! That's my favorite.
Yes.
Okay.
So using your,
Go ahead, Natalie.
I was going to say, so obviously being in the investor quadrant is using your money to make money, right? And really that can look many, many, many different ways. And so that I think is just very important too, as you're going through, to sit down with a professional depending on your business, right? Like, so example for me being in financial planning, there's a foundation that has to be set, just like as we're going through the quadrants in your business, right? In the foundation of your finances before you make certain investments, right? So like, I know right now is the Bitcoin craze. You go on TikTok, every other video is Bitcoin. Whatever. I'm part of the Bitcoin craze too, right? I get it. But you have to have certain things in place first. You're not going to take all of your money to Vegas or dump all of your money into Bitcoin and hope it's right. You have to do things strategically, responsibly, and with a firm foundation in our business and in our investments. It's doing things with the right foundation, a solid foundation, a strong foundation in anything.
Absolutely. And I see Jamie is right on point with this. Absolutely. That is perfect.
Jamie, what's your business? I want to know what his business is.
Jamie, tell us what you do. We'll have to bring you on the show and let you.
Yeah.
But the investor quadrant is really an interesting piece, because it's the one piece, Natalie, that I believe an employee can do simultaneously while being on the left side of the quadrant. We do it anyway. We do it instinctively when we work at companies and we do this 401k. We don't think about it. We say, oh, this is our investment for our future. This is our retirement, blah, 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 blah. But it's an investment. You're being an investor at that moment, whether you realize it or not, because you're allowing your money to work for you. So that's the one caveat to that. I think you can be
very true.
I don't think you can be employee and business owner simultaneously, because you could be employee and self-employed simultaneously. That I agree with. Self-employed and business owner, I don't think you can do that. Business owner and employee, that just makes absolutely no sense. I don't believe that could happen. But you could be an investor and an employee, especially if you're learning the right things. They have people out here that learn these, this micro flipping, or they're doing, real estate wholesaling, or they're getting into tax liens or Bitcoin or Dogecoin, or they get into all this other stuff. And here's another one right here. You got Jamie's a mortgage broker, licensed in New Jersey and Florida, and he has a printing company, right? So he's got that whole universe going on for him, where he's a broker, so that makes him, in a way, self-employed, right? Employee, self-employed. I don't know really how to call that.
Well, he might have loan officers. Mortgage broker, he might have loan officers. Yeah.
Okay. But then definitely for the printing company, he's definitely self-employed, because that's his company, unless he has employees, right? So if he has no employees, then he's on the left side of the quadrant. We need to try to help Jamie and others like Jamie get over to the right side of the quadrant. So hopefully this conversation is very helpful in understanding how to go from left to right. And Natalie, you said it. No matter what block you're in, you need a plan. If you're going to be an employee and that's where you want to stay and you want to be the best employee in the world, rich dad, poor dad, go get a great education and go get a high paying job, period, right? If that's where you want to be and you're satisfied, time for money. Everyone doesn't want the responsibility of employees or running a company, and that's okay. Everyone isn't built to be on the right side of the quadrant, right? But there are people who are naturally business owners that feel that way when they're stuck in their business or they're stuck in self-employed, or they're stuck in the employee mode. For a good example of that is if you work for a company and you tend to solve their problems pretty quickly, and you tend to overachieve, and you blow out your roles very fast, and you're accelerating through companies super fast, and you get to a point where they say, like, I can't afford you, right? I can't afford you anymore, because what you do is really a C-suite position or a higher level position, and we already have one of those. I got to let you go so you could really go find a nest that's best for you. Then employee mode is not your world. That's not your world. You need to be doing something else. And we tend to get trapped in the self-employed world doing stuff for ourselves. We're making money, but we're not making as much as we can or generating as much revenue as we can, because we only have so much time. And when we get frustrated with that, that's when I think the mind says, okay, I need to get other people. And that was just my personal experience. I don't know how it worked for anyone else. But in the E mode, in the S mode, and in the B mode, I've always been a real estate investor. So I've always done that part. Most people say is a side gig, but it's not side for me. It's an investor. When I want to put money in it to make more money, I do. And I don't. It's nothing side gig about it. It's being an investor, when I feel the market's right for me. What about you? How did you walk through this quadrant?
It was an interesting. Hey, thank you so much, Jamie, for being here. Yay, it was exciting. Hopefully we can catch up again too. We'll talk more. It was definitely my mindset, which I didn't know, was self-employed. And it was interesting because I never could have a job, is just the truth. And I didn't realize that was why. Even when I went to school before getting into finance and I graduated as a medical assistant, my intentions were to continue going to medical school, but I just couldn't work for hourly. It just didn't work for me, right? I needed to be able to go in, hustle, get my 3, 4, 5 hours in, make the money I wanted to make, it go. And so that was a little bit of a time frame for me to go from self-employed to business owner, because I didn't realize that about myself. And then once I learned that, it made it easier. But that was me working with the coach and him teaching me to slow down, put processes in place, duplicate myself, and just really, it's always a journey. We're always having to grow, reinvent, shift, go with the times, the market, the COVID, all these types of things. So we're going to have to be able to shift. So I do think it's always a process. We're always learning and growing and getting better and becoming better business owners, better leaders, and better investors. So I do think it's an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
Of growth.
Absolutely. Oh, what a good topic. All right, y'all. So that's the cash flow quadrant with Robert Kiyosaki, employee, self-employed, business owner, Which one are you? Drop that in a comment. Tell us which one you are, or which one you think you are. Tell us what your business is. We'd love to have you on the show so we can talk to you and get your mindset and your understanding. And always remember, the Better Your Business show and the special edition is brought to you by the Los Angeles Tribune, our partner Mo Rock, Natalie Forrest, and that amazing team over there that's doing some great work to help business owners really get to the next level. And we're proud to be part of it. We missed our co-host today, Tehran Glover. We hope you're out there doing well. We'll see you on the next show. Thank you for joining us. What a great show. Absolutely, Natalie.
Thank you.
It's been awesome as always. So next week, Natalie, what are we going to do on the show next week? I think we're going to do some walkthroughs of a software that can actually identify where the business is and how to go through those questions to find out what you need to do. That's going to be really interesting. The GPS for your business. Let's see where we are. Yeah, I am too. That's going to be very interesting.
Yes.
Well, Natalie, you want to take us away?
All right, so awesome. So we'll see you next Monday. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. LA Tribune will be live tonight at 7 p.m. So make sure you jump on there. I will see you next Monday. Bye.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business show starts now.